Welcome, everyone. My name is Dita Sharma, and I'm delighted to welcome you all at our second Family Business Sustainability Forum. I have three wonderful guests with me from Holland, the beautiful country of the Netherlands. Marlies Van Helvert and Marijke Van Helvert are fourth generation siblings of the great Royal Wijhe Verf company. We'll hear a lot about how this company, a 105-year-old business, started and grew over time, and how they are involved in innovating in a paints and coatings company. Marlies Van Helvert, a graduate of business administration from Grossman University, started her career in the chemical company DSM and worked there for a few years before she joined her family business. She started in exports, and in 2000, she became the CEO of Royal Van Helvert. Marlies is active in Family Business Network, the Dutch Association of Family Businesses, and as she chairs that fine association. And she's also an active participant for Future for Nurture Foundation that enables young international conservationists. And I'm delighted to introduce her sister, Marijke Van Helvert, who's also a business graduate and has worked at Royal Van Helvert in the marketing department since 1989. Marijke took over the responsibility of marketing and communications in 2018. Welcome, Marlies and Marijke. We're going to have a fantastic conversation today. My third guest, Judith Van Helvert, is a professor from Windesheim University of Applied Sciences. Judith did her doctoral studies on advisory boards in family firms from Jönköping International School of Business in Sweden. In addition to her focus on family business governance, her research focuses on the entrepreneurial potential of small and medium family enterprises. Before we start our conversation, let me set a few ground rules for all of us, mostly for me, but I like to share it with you as well. We'll start with a few structured questions, things that I've always wanted to ask Marlies and Marijke and Judith. And you're welcome to add your questions briefly, please, in the Q&A. Avoid using chat because we don't like being confused here. Our great student monitors, Clay and Julia, are going to monitor the chat, and they will rephrase the questions, trying to combine topics that are being asked. I will try to integrate your questions, but I don't promise anything. We will save some time, or at least we hope to save some time in the end. We're going to start with a little video that covers the evolution of this lovely company, Royal Van Helvert, and shares. I apologize, I misspoke. I like misspeaking. Our first video is actually going to share what the importance of sustainability for Royal Van Helvert. This is a short video, about 5 minutes long, and we will play it to you so you can get a sense of the feeling the sisters carry about sustainability.
Ik denk dat duurzaamheid absoluut niet.
Ik denk dat duurzaamheid absoluut niet zonder innovatie kan. Je moet constant bezig zijn met nieuwe ontwikkelingen om die stap naar die verduurzaming te maken. En dat is aan de ene kant een enorme uitdaging, maar verschrikkelijk leuk om te doen.
Je ziet het niet meteen, maar Marlies is naast verfproducent ook een klimaatondernemer. Klimaatondernemers zijn ondernemers die het veranderende klimaat niet als een bedreiging zien, maar als een kans. Wij zoeken deze vindingrijke ondernemers op.
Wij willen weten wat de CO2-footprint is van de producten die wij verkopen. En als je eenmaal zo'n nulmeting hebt, dan is dat een hele mooie basis om daarna je verbeteringsplan daarop te zetten. Om te kijken hoe je die impact kan gaan verlagen in de komende jaren.
Met grote of kleine maatregelen, ook jij kunt je kans pakken en bijdragen aan de missie om in 1 generatie fossielvrij te leven.
Duurzaamheid is verschrikkelijk belangrijk. We hebben in de wereld met 2 crisissen te maken. Klimaatverandering en het verlies aan biodiversiteit. Dus wij vinden dat wij ons steentje moeten bijdragen aan een duurzamere wereld. Dat betekent dat we moeten beginnen bij ons eigen bedrijf. Onze ambitie is om in 2025 klimaatneutraal te zijn. En daar gaan we nu alles op inzetten.
Geen gemakkelijke opgave, een chemisch bedrijf verduurzamen. Met een jaarlijkse uitstoot van 500.000 ton aan CO2 is er nog veel ruimte voor verbetering binnen de Nederlandse verfsector. Van Wijhe kijkt hoe ze die uitstoot terug kan dringen. Onder andere door alternatieven te zoeken voor de fossiele grondstoffen waarmee traditionele verf gemaakt wordt.
We proberen de fossiele grondstoffen in onze producten steeds meer te vervangen door biobased alternatieven. En biobased grondstoffen zijn grondstoffen met een biologische oorsprong die ook hernieuwbaar zijn. En we noemen ze ook wel hernieuwbare grondstoffen. Omdat we daarmee natuurlijk de aarde proberen niet uit te putten. Want grondstoffen zijn eindig, olie is eindig. En wij vinden het wel belangrijk dat je spullen gebruikt die niet opraken. Het mooiste zou zijn als de grondstoffen die je gebruikt ook nog eens een keer niet concurreren met de voedselindustrie. En als ze ook nog eens een keer teruggroeien in de tijd dat je het product gebruikt. Als je naar je verduurzaming van je producten kijkt, is het natuurlijk ook hartstikke belangrijk om je verpakkingen daarin mee te nemen. En daarom zijn wij een project gestart voor de verduurzaming van onze huurverfemmers. Die zijn van kunststof. En wij hebben een samenwerking opgestart met een afvalverwerker en met een producent van kunststofemmers. En we zijn erin geslaagd om een emmer te ontwikkelen die gebaseerd is op post-consumer recyclaat. Dus dat betekent plastic afval van consumenten. We zijn daar apen trots op. Hij is wel grijs, want wit is wat moeilijk te maken. Maar wij verpakken daar nu al onze huurverf in.
Daarnaast is het transport kritisch bekeken en worden er nu 4 lagen verfemmers op een pallet gestapeld in plaats van 3.
Nou, dat klinkt heel simpel, maar daar moet je echt redelijk wat onderzoek voor doen. Hè? De emmers moeten van het juiste materiaal zijn, op de juiste manier stapelen, op de juiste manier zorgen dat het vaststaat. Waardoor je dus meer volume op 1 pallet hebt, dus eigenlijk weer minder transportkosten hebt. Ook dat zijn kleine onderdelen die helpen bij de verduurzaming van je bedrijf.
Wanneer je als groot bedrijf wilt verduurzamen, is het essentieel om ook alle medewerkers erbij te betrekken. Daarvoor heeft Marlies het Green Team in het leven geroepen.
We hebben binnen Van Wijhe een Green Team samengesteld. En dat zijn jonge medewerkers die duurzaamheid ook heel belangrijk vinden. En die mij helpen om het veel beter op de kaart te krijgen binnen het bedrijf door allerlei leuke dingen te organiseren.
Zo organiseren ze wedstrijden voor de leukste duurzame selfie of het beste duurzame idee van de afdeling.
Nou, ook bij onze gebouwen kijken we natuurlijk hoe duurzaam we ze kunnen krijgen. Hierachter is ons nieuwe hoofdkantoor. Dat is nu een jaartje of 5 oud. En daar zijn we met aardverwarming aan de gang gegaan. En dat bespaart heel wat CO2.
Dit leverde een besparing op van 94.000 kilo CO2 per jaar. Daarnaast zijn ze overgestapt op energie uit natuurlijke bron. Hierdoor werd de CO2-uitstoot met nog eens 40% verlaagd. Alle inspanningen hebben ervoor gezorgd dat Van Wijhe zich als eerste chemische bedrijf ter wereld een B Corporation mag noemen. Dit certificaat verdienen ze omdat ze een aantoonbare positieve impact maken op milieu en maatschappij. En deze benoeming helpt Van Wijhe ook weer verder.
Je krijgt heel mooi handvaten van hoe kan je je beleid ontwikkelen, waar moet je mee aan de gang en hoe krijg je nou dat bedrijf op een hoger niveau qua duurzaamheid. Als bedrijf denk ik, als je verduurzaming niet serieus neemt naar de toekomst toe, dan hou je straks op met te bestaan. En dat biedt juist heel veel nieuwe kansen om nieuwe dingen met je bedrijf te doen die bijdragen aan die klimaatverbetering.
Je weet het misschien niet, maar ook jij kunt klimaatondernemer worden. Weten waar jouw kansen liggen? Ga naar vattenfall.nl/klimaatondernemers.
Marlies, Marijke, thank you so much. Thank you for your vision. Thank you for your hard work and sharing so generously. Let me start with a question about your generational journey. Any one of you may start right from when you started, when the company started. And thanks for sharing this lovely evolution slide, sorry. Marlies?
Yeah, Marijke will take the first question.
Marijke.
Yeah. Do we have to click to get the other pictures in the slide?
We will, just as you start, we
Yes,
will
we
click the whole picture.
Okay, perfect.
Yep, we're working on it. Perfect.
Okay.
Super.
Shall I start?
Thank you.
Yeah.
And please let us know when you want the second slide up. Okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
Marijke.
Yeah, I start. Our great-grandfather starts the company in 1916. And in more than 100 years, it has grown from a wholesaler to a major paint manufacturer. In 1941, our grandfather Jan takes over the company during the difficult war years. Our father Dick, third generation, is only child, and he takes over the company in 1971. He's a chemical engineer, and he played a very important role in the development of our R&D. Innovation was and is very important in our business, in family business. He's 85 years old, and nowadays he is member of the supervisory board as the advisory commissioner. My father has 2 daughters. And in 2000, Marlies takes over the helm of the company from our father. And I work in the company since 1989 at the marketing department, and I'm responsible for the corporate marketing and communication. We have a very small family. Marlies has no children, I have 2. My son Bob is 24 and joined the company, and my daughter Fleur studies business administration just like her aunt. Several times a year, we have our family meeting to discuss the business. My mom on the role of chairman, and she is 86 years old.
Yeah.
Next
slide, please. Yes, well, our profession is protection and give color to the world. And we are organized in the way you see here. We are in Holland, the 3rd largest paint manufacturer and the largest Dutch-owned paint company. Our turnover is approximately 50 million euros. And our Dutch brand is Wijhe. You saw it also in the movie. And Wijhe is a word that comes from Wijhe, our last name, Zonen, which means sons, the 2 sons of the starter of the company, and all from Oli, Wijhe. Ralston is our export brand, and we have a side brand, Rebel Paints. Ralston actually was bought from Sherwin-Williams, well known to maybe the Americans. We have several activities because we like to spread our risk. That means that we have, besides the decorative paints, also a colorant business. Based on colorants we developed in the 80s, an idea of my father to do that. And we still make our own colorants, but we also sell them to other paint manufacturers. So we have a decorative line, gel coats for boats, and an industrial line, which we sell to producers of industrial paints. And this is, as far as I know, the first line with bio-based raw materials. Next to that, we have in Holland an own distribution with 16 own wholesale companies, and the rest we do with independent wholesalers. And in 2017, our startup company Wijhe, which is a word made out of Wijhe and daughters, us 2, officially started. And we aim at this company to develop new innovative coatings and coating solutions for the future. And the mission of Wijhe is creating new opportunities for our family business. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's so refreshing to hear, first of all, with your evolution slide that Marijke shared. Not only is the content amazing, the presentation is amazing. So it is very, very clear that you pay attention to every little detail. Can you really share a little bit about the Royal prefix?
Our 100th year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we are a kingdom, as you know, And that means that if a company is internationally organized, has at least 100 people working for it, and is 100 years minimum, 100 years old, then you can apply for the royal status at our king. So it is really the king himself who grants or does not grant the royal status. So in, when was it? 2015. 15 we said, no, 16, 14. In 14 we started applying because it takes a whole year. And then you have to go to your community, the burgomaster, I think it's called, burgemeester. And then it has to go to the province, then it has to go to the politics in The Hague, and then it goes to the king. And there's a whole background check done on our family. And if everything is okay, then the king can say yes or no. And that's how we got in 2016 at our anniversary royal.
Yeah.
Congratulations. It is such a well-earned, family has to work hard for 100 years.
Yeah.
And not only enable their own growth, but also the growth of their community. Hiring at least 100 people is certainly not for the faint-hearted. So congratulations, my warm appreciation for all you have done and continue to do. And I'm going to bring my friend Judith into the conversation, because it is through her work that I actually got introduced to your fine company. Judith, thank you for joining from Windesheim. And can you tell me a little bit about the family business activities at your fine university? I love the town of Zwolle. So Judith, please.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting us today, because I think it's really great that we get the opportunity to share the really nice things that are being done here in the Netherlands. I think that, well, if you look at sustainability in general in our country, that we do quite well. For example, if you look at the transportation sector, we have a lot of bikes. We have more bikes than we have inhabitants. So that's really nice. And also, I think I heard just a few weeks ago that every 4th second, a new solar panel is being installed, but which creates also a huge burden for the transportation system of electricity. So we sometimes have electricity problems now. So that's really interesting. But I think if you look at this, at the topic of sustainability and family businesses in general, there's a lot of things that are being done. So I think that the example of Van Wijhe is a really great source of inspiration for others in terms of taking care of nature and of the environment. So I think especially because they are involved in a chemical sector, which makes it especially challenging. So I think it's really special what they do there, also together as 2 women in a men's world. So I think, yeah, it's really, really nice and a great source of inspiration. But I think that also, I mean, there is a natural inclination, I think, for family firms here that to be involved and to be engaged in what we call civic wealth creation, or communal wealth creation. So doing good and being good in terms of being good to nature, but also in terms of diversity and inclusion, those kind of things. Yeah.
Well, thank you for your role in helping not only, but I wouldn't have known about Royal Van Wijhe if it hadn't been for your case written on them. So thank you for your case chapter, which is in our book, and we're going to share the link in the question and answer for anyone who's interested. And thank you for bringing together the world in this conversation. I know our next generation is already urgently hoping that we will make a difference together. And so Marlies and Marijke, in terms of sustainability journey, where do you see it started in Royal Van Wijhe?
Well, I think, and Judith will agree with us, that we, in family businesses, we think in generations. So it is really important to go back. And if we look back in our history, and Judith helped us doing that, I think that sustainability was more or less a central thing. But the meaning of the word sustainability changed and evolved over time. I think that's also interesting to see. It will be the case, I think, with more companies. If you look at the first generation, it was more survival, continuity of the company. It was during World War I. Second generation was much more focused on looking after employees. Then the third generation, our father, he had already a passion for nature. More and more attention was paid to environment at that time, less solvents in our products, more water-based paints, more durable coatings. He even had a nice booklet for his customers about nature, about forests and the protection about them. And I think it was also the time of the Club of Rome that was launched. So we got a piece of that with us. So when I started as a fourth generation CEO, first I should tell you that when I was young, I wanted to become a biologist. And afterwards, I changed to business administration and the family business. Well, we grew up with it. But I'm really worried what happens with the planet right now. And I want to contribute with our company to a better future. You can see all the UN reports that recently were launched. We think that paint is sustainable itself because it protects substrates for a long time. The paint also evolved over time. If I look at a paint we developed in 2000, you had to repaint your door in 6 years, and now you can repaint your door in 12 years. So we reduced our volume of produced paint and sold paint to the market. But I think together with all the new developments and new raw materials, like in the short video about bio-based raw materials, I can combine my love for nature, my love for biology, with my passion for the family business. And that's what we do. That's what we try to do.
Thank you. So sustainability, we struggle with the term. We struggle with this term because it's used so often. And I think for me, you're sharing that how the same word, the meaning of the same word evolves over time and over generation has been the one very, very helpful way to understand. So I always think of sustainability for the first generation is surviving. For the business to survive. If there is no business, so that would be the profit segment of it, while keeping an eye on other things. And then focusing on people, and now you are focusing on planet, but you never leave the people behind. So we have to, it just continues to get more and more complex as we go over time. You decided to become a B Corp and active in FBN and Dutch family businesses. What was your motivation for, maybe there was a different motivation for all these? What was the motivation? Maybe we start with B Corp.
The motivation for B Corp. Well, actually, that was a friend of mine, a business friend, who I was in the car. He phoned me up. He said, "Have you ever heard about B Corp?" It was in 2014 or 15, I think. I said, "No, never. Tell me, what is it?" He explained to me what it was. And he said, "It's a piece of cake for you." I said, "Whoa," because he said, "You are trying to be a sustainable company." So he explained a little bit more, and he challenged me to have a look at the B Corp site, to look what it was. And that's what we did. And I was triggered. Some of my management members were triggered. And we started filling out the questions and the questionnaires. And they were really tough. So I must admit that I think 2 times we said we will stop. We won't continue. It's very, very difficult. But on the other hand, you want to succeed. You're an entrepreneur. You want to show that you can do it. So we kept on trying, and we had some help from outside, from another company that was helping companies getting a B Corp, so you can get help. And suddenly we had this magical 80 points, which gave us the possibility to become a B Corp. Next step was the assessment. We did that very well, and we suddenly were a B Corp. There's one other thing I have to tell you. My management team at that time was not interested at all. It was something I was enthusiastic about because somehow I knew it was going to be important. 2 years later, when we had our new check on how we were doing, and we again were able to show them that we make progress, my management team didn't want to say goodbye to the B Corp anymore. So now we are very involved. We have a whole group working on it, making sure that the right things are done. And the difficult thing about B Corp is that you have to move, you have to change every time. So it's not we are B Corp and we will stay that forever. No, every time you have to show that you're getting better. And now everybody's trying to get that done. So our next test is coming up in November and let's see what happens. But that was our B Corp thing.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing, because I know so many companies in US definitely are asking the question, is this something, it seems really difficult, should I be thinking about it? And we're going to try and bring some companies together to learn from each other, to help each other. Judith, are you seeing this in other Dutch companies as well?
I think there is a list online indeed with firms that are that have this the certificate, but I don't think it has the recognition or that it is recognized as much as it is in your area, for example. So I think it's still rather new concept actually in the Netherlands. I don't know if you agree, Marlies, but.
Yeah. And that was the problem. But, you know, nobody knows what it is. So we were a B Corp and had to explain what it was. But now even customers of ours are asking and saying, wow, that you finished it. We want to try too. So it's getting to get a snowball effect.
Yes, yes.
More and more. And so that's important. Yeah,
I totally agree. I see it somewhat like the accreditation we have for business schools. It's very similar to that. It's a continuous learning and continuous development. My students tell me we have a question from the audience. So I'm going to request them to just paraphrase it, please. Clay, Julia.
Yes, audience is wondering if you might be able to provide some advice on how families can avoid just seeing sustainability as an additional strategic focus and more as a transformative measure to the entire business culture towards sustainability.
Thanks, Julia. So is sustainability a strategic orientation, or is it something that helps change the culture for you?
For us?
Yes.
I think if a company is not sustainable, it will not survive.
Simple as that.
Yeah. So you have to start.
Quickly? Yeah. How quickly do you see the change coming in Holland?
I think that it is changing right now. Judith said we do very well. Well, in my opinion, we did not do that well in Holland because my customers in Holland are different from my export customers. And in my opinion, in my export business, there was more interest to talk about it than in Holland, but it's changing, luckily. That's the good thing. I got again, what was the question?
That's okay. Let's go to the next one.
Or perhaps to add, if I just may
ahead,
add, because I think what Marlies and Marijke do really well is because they have to compete with big giants in their market, and also like Marlies is saying herself, they are developing and further developing their products, but it doesn't help them in their sales volume, right? Because if the pain lasts longer, there is less to sell. On the other hand, I think it's a great form of strategic positioning, and also in your long-term relationships with your customers and other relationships, that it also helps your strategic positioning in the market. So it doesn't perhaps equally help on all fronts, but in the end,
that's an interesting point you raise, Judith, because what is growth? And there's a new discussion going on. What is growth? Is it growth in turnover, or is growth defined as something else?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question in terms of what metric we use in terms of growth and our own growth and the company's growth. And I see we have a question on green team. Our students want to work on your green team. Let me paraphrase the question. Can you elaborate on that, Marijke or Marlies?
You mean what it is, the green team?
What it is, give an example of something they might have done that has been a sticky or that you have been able to implement.
The green, the lunchroom? Wil jij daar wat over vertellen? Ja. Now we have a green team since 2012, young employees who also followed a course about green leadership. And they helped me to get the company more enthusiastic about sustainability. And what they organized was the lunchroom Green Marlies. And in this lunchroom, every 6-7 weeks, I had 11 employees at my table. And with the 12 of us, we discussed about why is sustainability so important for Van Wijhe? What do we do on that subject? And then we started a discussion on the SDGs, just to, there's no wrong, no right, no wrong, just to discuss what do we think about it, how important is it, which one should an SDG that is very well equipped for our company, and that we do together with some bread and some salad for 1.5 hours, which is always very nice. And they organized it. It was perfect.
Thank you.
Maybe it's nice to say that every member of the green team
trained by Nudge.
Yeah.
Zeg maar.
Marijke, you can share.
Yeah.
Marijke and I have a deal, just in case our attendees are wondering. We're both not too comfortable with English. So we have a deal that she's going to be able to, she's not, all three of them are going to be able to switch to Dutch anytime they like, and I can switch to Hindi anytime I like. So Marijke, please go ahead.
She reminded me about the Nudge Leadership Challenge, which is a pressure cooker of several days where young people get enthusiastic about sustainability and do all kinds of case studies and have interesting speakers. And that is something that I really want them to join before they join the green team.
Ah, very nice.
I said to her.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Marijke and Marlies. I can visualize the brain working full time in our students in terms of how can we do something like that at the University of Vermont. Judith has visited us a few times. It's probably one of the most beautiful and sane campuses in the entire country. We do take our nature very, very seriously and our people very seriously in this in our state. Sustainability, in terms of SDGs, I'm just curious, this is cooking up a question right in the moment. There's 17 of them. How do you make sense of them?
No, that's a very interesting question. Last week, there was a launch from FBN, which is the Family Business Network International, together with UNTAD, about the SDGs for family businesses. And we were at Van Wijhe, one of the pilot companies. There were 3 pilot companies, Wijhe Verf from the Netherlands, a Turkish company, and a company from India. And they made sure that there was a connection between family businesses and the SDGs. And this tool will help family businesses to get the connection to the SDGs. And we chose for our company not to pick out some of the SDGs, but we wanted to see where we hooked on, how do you say that? How we touched, what SDGs we touched with what we do. So that's something we're still working on.
Very good. I am quite encouraged with the United Nations Council for Trade and Development and FBN. They've been working very hard to develop this self-assessment kind of a survey related to family business and SDGs, and hope to see that rolled out for anyone. We do have another question, so please give me a moment, Clay.
This person is wondering if their sustainability efforts have been able to pay for themselves.
Do sustainability efforts that you've been doing, do they pay for themselves, or is there a cost involved, an investment involved in them?
There is a cost and investment involved, yes, but in the end, it will pay out as well. And that's what I like about B Corp. You can do things for good, but you're also allowed to make a profit, because we need to make a profit to stay healthy and to make sure that we are a company that will also hopefully survive in the 5th generation. But it costs money if you want to do good at the moment. I think it is still very strange that if I want to make more sustainable products, I always have to pay more for my raw materials. It is the world upside down, but it's probably the transition period we're going through.
I have worried about paint particularly, because if you make more durable paint, that's good for the environment. Do you end up losing in terms of the revenues because people don't buy that often?
We lose volume, that's correct. I think in the Netherlands, the last 10 years, 30% of the volume disappeared. But on the other hand, that's why my Wijhe company, which I showed on the slide, is so important. It is my new, that's I think what an entrepreneur does. It looks for new ways to do business and to keep the company healthy. So Wijhe is for me a new step, maybe in a new world with other products.
Good, thank you. There's another question.
Do you think that your B Corp and sustainable positioning have attracted customers and in turn increased your sales?
Has B Corp helped to increase your sales?
Not yet, no.
Has it attracted different types of customers?
It is going to attract, I'm sure, because I see a change in our Dutch opdrachtgevers, our Dutch customers, who are more and more request or ask for sustainable solutions for their business. So it's changing. Yes, it is.
Okay, we have another question.
How has sustainability affected employee engagement and commitment?
Have you felt any difference within the employees because you are now focused on, or you are more, I guess, talking more about the,
yes, we do. For instance, I know that in this Wijhe company, we have several young people that were attracted by the fact that we were trying to be a sustainable company. Okay. Absolutely, yeah.
Where did my students apply? Judith, are you hearing that in other Dutch companies as well? You need to, can you unmute, please?
Yes, sorry, I missed the button. But I'm hearing that a lot indeed, because we have a huge lack of new employee forces, so to say. So there are many firms looking for good personnel. And what I hear indeed is that the new generation, of course, is attracted by sustainable initiatives. So it's really a nice way to distinguish yourself also as an employer, I think. Yeah.
And that's what we're beginning to see in US as well, where particularly the younger generations, and the pandemic has caused people to rethink their work life and the kinds of work they want to do. Hopefully that'll lead to positive energy on sustainability, SDG type of issues.
Exactly.
And fun thing, if you are a family business, we always say in our family that it's lonely at the top, but the wind blows very pleasantly around the nose, which means that you have so much freedom to make these choices.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so much fun too. I mean, sustainability is a very serious business, but it is also fun.
I'm smiling because that's exactly how I feel right now. We're not trained to be doing these kinds of things and opening this is supposed to be an in-class conversation between guest speakers and students and myself, and we've opened it to world. So we're kind of trying the same thing. The wind is blowing. I don't know if it's very pleasant. It's kind of an anxious wind right now, but I think we're doing great. So thank you so much for playing along. Tough challenges. are there, the way we phrase the question is things that keep you up at night now or over your, I mean, you've been working, both of you have been working for a long time, when you really wondered if this was the right thing to do?
Yeah. Entering a family business is already something that you think, is that the right thing to do? You can tell more about that than me, maybe.
Yeah, being a family member is not always easy in a family business. I was young when I entered the family business. I was 22. And because I am a family member, people will treat you differently. And now I'm older and wiser and I don't care anymore.
But that's a challenge. Yeah. Yeah, I had some things that kept me out of my sleep as well. For instance, in the crisis of 2009, the financial crisis, I had to let people go, which is something you never want to do, but sometimes you have to, which was a terrible time at that time. And right now, the challenge is sustainability. That can be a difficult thing. So you try to look for ways how to do it better. You stay unhealthy as a company and you try to do the good things, because it's in the end, again, the survival of the company. And we have now in Europe this Green Deal. I'm not sure if you heard about it in the United States, which is on one side a threat, but also a big opportunity. But it's unclear what it's going to mean. If my R&D manager tells me that maybe 80% of my raw materials will change, then I have to invent paint all over again. So it's challenging times ahead.
Well, I think you have a part of your history that where you did invent during the world wars. So I'm pretty certain you'll figure out an oil that works in place of whatever you're using now. A question about when you talk about the 2009 crisis causing the painful decision to let go some employees. Can you speak a little bit about your dealing with the pandemic in a manufacturing business?
Yes,
now.
I can. When it all started last year, the first thing that you do is I called my financial guy, my financial manager, and we decided to make some scenarios. What happens if we have -10, -20, -50% turnover? What happens to the company? Scenarios you actually never make, but they were shocking, I can tell you. And you see how fast the money goes away from you. So it also shows how important it is that you keep up your business. But so we did that, and then something strange happened, because all my customers still were able to do their business and their work. So the painters could go outside. It was beautiful weather. We had a beautiful summer and spring last year. So instead of going it to be less, it became more. The retail shops were open. A lot of people stayed home and started doing their homes. So actually we had a different way of dealing with the pandemic, and that all working from home. So we had to install computers everywhere. We had to learn to communicate through screens like this. The guys in the warehouse and in the production, they of course had to work there, but it was big, so they could keep their distances. So it was a different way of working. Everybody put in a lot of efforts and energy, and we made a nice year. Yeah.
Thank you. This is good to hear. It's just very, very positive to hear that you were able to, and everyone was dedicated to the company enough to support them, both in terms of customers. If they can't paint outside, they can paint inside. We always have more things we need to do within our homes, within our buildings as well. So that's really reassuring to hear. We had a similar experience at our university during the pandemic, where we were able to learn and pivot. I have colleagues, we pivoted within a week, suddenly learning how to teach remote in around March 2020. And we are continuing now. We are fully on campus now, and our students have been fantastic. I just have so much admiration for my students. Judith, what about you? How did Windesheim manage during the pandemic?
We are also a government organization, so the rules were quite strict, I can say, and it has taken a lot of time before we were able to get back here to the office. And it's great to be back again. So since summer, we can engage again in normal classes with the students, and sometimes we also hold on to parts of the online teaching, because it can also be a great combination, I think. But just to be able to meet each other again, that's great. Yeah, I really like it. Just if I may, I had a little thing to add also in terms of challenges, because succession is always a challenge, I think. And I just reread the chapter or the case, and I came across this quote, which I really liked, when Marlies said that in terms of succession, the new generations, they are of course able to explore their future paths, but the family business is there. So at one time, they really have to kind of say something about it, what they want in terms of being involved or not. And I think that is very true. And it's also, in a way, a kind of wisdom that develops perhaps over the generations. Like, how are you going to involve the next generation members? And how are you going to balance between keeping them close versus giving them space and room to develop their own ideas and possibilities. So I think it's a great challenge, but I can imagine that it's a great deal or a great way to deal with it. I don't know if you
absolutely. Isn't the roots and wings the big parental challenge of all times? How much do we keep them close and how much? But it reminds me, thanks Judith for reminding me that, because your father had to make the same decision when it was time for you. Can you both share how that decision was made when you were asked whether or not to join? How did your father manage that?
At that moment.
My sister just said we were very young, because I was 21. I was 19. 19. Yeah. And my father got a very, very interesting offer to sell the business. It was such of course, normal. There were more companies every now and then asking if our company was for sale, but this was different. So he said to us, he said, guys, girls, we have to sit around the table because this and this happened. And he asked us, do you want to continue with the family business or not? I was still in Groningen, you were still at school. Yeah. And he said, do you want to continue the business or not? Because if you want to continue the family business, I'll keep on working and tell the potential buyers to, how do you say that in American, take a hike. And if you're not interested, okay, then I know what to do. And we took 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Yeah, 3 weeks to discuss it together. And the answer was,
yes, we do.
We want to continue. Well, and then a few years later, we actually owned the company, but being a shareholder is something different from being at the helm of the company. And my father, after a couple of years, he got a little bit bored because he didn't have any shares anymore. So he asked us to buy 10% back. And he always told us, I sold the company to you for a very low price. So I want to sell those 10% the shares back for a low price. Because he said, if you're not involved with a little bit of shareholdership, it's as boring as seeing paint dry. That were his words. But that's how it worked. And we're still working together. We haven't killed each other. And yeah.
That's a tough decision to make, right? When you're so young and you're pretty much just signing off your life at that time to say, I'm going to buy something as major as the work of 3 generations before me. And that's quite a responsibility to take on at 21 and 19.
Yeah, but she has now a very important responsibility.
Yeah,
It absolutely is.
yeah.
Marijke?
Yeah, but the children should do what makes them happy. And we are proud. I'm proud that Bob has chosen the family business a few years ago. A few years ago, he had other ambitions. And Fleur, yeah, she is studying now in Groningen. We don't know.
Yeah. No, but we have two responsibilities. I take care of the company.
Yeah, and I take care for the next gen. So, yeah.
And both major responsibilities for the family.
Yeah.
Because we talk about.
Familiebedrijf.
Oh, yeah.
Vereniging.
Oh yeah. Both children are connected with FBN, FB and FBNet. They're next gens, so they're learning from other children from family businesses.
We have a question, Clay.
With one of the sisters being the CEO, what's the reporting relationship between the two of them?
Good. So how do you make key decisions between yourselves? And I know your father is involved. What's the relationship between the three of you?
Shall I answer that one?
Yeah.
Well, I'm CEO, so that means I'm responsible for running the business. But we have a family meeting every 5-6 times a year, where we discuss important strategic issues. I mean, selling or not is a strategic issue. Will never be decided by me. But there are also other initiatives I like to do together with my family. Starting new activities like our innovation lab in Groningen is such a strategic thing. I want to share that and want to back up with my family. But so the decisions are made by me, but I always do these very important ones together with my sister and my father and my mother. But there are other decisions, and your role is more the company. Jouw verantwoordelijkheid?
Yeah, for the
communication and how does it look and feel?
Yeah.
How do we want to present the company? That's her. I mean, I'm not that good at that. If decisions in that area has to be taken, she's the one that decides, because I know she will take a better decision than I do. So we found out 20 years ago that we really added up with each other. How do you say that? She had things I was not good at. Yeah. She has other things she's good at than I. So we how do you say that, Judith?
Compliment.
Compliment on that side. Thank you.
Thank you. You all three of you actually complement each other really, really well. So it's with the next generation, you said your son is already working at the business?
Yeah, at the marketing department.
In the marketing department. How do you manage that reporting responsibility with him?
The what responsibility?
Does he report to you in the marketing department? Who is grooming him or helping him develop?
No, a colleague of mine, the head of the department, marketing department.
So the head of the marketing department is the person who is overseeing his work and helping him grow. And that's probably a nice way to manage there. I saw a question come in about other countries, growth in taking your products into different countries. Do you see a growth possibility there?
Yes, yeah, we see that. The paints are most of the time sold in Europe. We do sell in America with a business partner already for I think 15 or 20 years.
Okay.
And in Europe, especially the countries like Germany, but also Ireland, Belgium are important export countries for us. Our colorants, on the other hand, go everywhere, also to Asia.
Very good. I mean, I come from India, so we have a few buildings that do need some touch up. So I will certainly be chatting with you about that. And we're good at producing people. So we have people, we need buildings, and the whole, the system continues. A question about aspiring business leaders. So students are hoping, boys and girls are hoping to become contributing members of the society and businesses. As business leaders, what would you like to see in them? When you have, say, 20 applicants for a job, what makes you decide this is the right person for your company, for your culture? How do you make, I know this is not a thing we discussed in our preparatory remarks, but students are keen to understand, mostly to prepare themselves.
I think, of course, they have to have a good idea about sustainability and want to contribute. I mean, you also still, of course, have people that are not interested at all, but we need people that are interested. I like some entrepreneurship in people. We were always told that if you have people that are entrepreneurial, but do not start their own company, then you have good people for your company. So people that are interested to take a chance, to take calculated risks, to try things, to be open to new developments. That's what I like about people, and some ambition, of course, to get better, to learn. Those.
So how do you test, and this goes for all of you, Judith, you must hear this among students as well. How does one test whether they are entrepreneurial or not?
Sometimes you find out later that they were not.
Yes.
So yeah, you can talk to them, you can see a little bit about the history, what they did, how they were acting, but you have to see it in the real world.
Yeah, so any kind of experiential activities that demonstrate that skill is one way to think about it. In our last few minutes, do you see generational differences within your family in terms of decision making? Your grandfather, your father, yourselves, your children?
Decision making, verschillen in manieren van besluiten. Tussen mij en papa bijvoorbeeld? Ik denk dat wel mee. Ja? Yeah, we are used to discuss a lot in the family. My grandfather did that. Then we joined at a certain age. My father used to discuss things with his father almost upon his death. So we talk a lot. Yeah, we talk always about business.
On the kitchen table.
And that's a good anchor to have in terms of our family sort of does that, and decisions are made when everyone feels comfortable with them. And then we sort of have a deadline. Yeah, please go ahead.
But of course, I take my own decisions. Yeah, how do you say that? No, I think what is important for us always in every generation, I think, but especially in the third generation, fourth generation, and we also teach that the fifth generation, is that the business comes first. So first the business, then the persons, the family. The business has to survive.
Super. And now thinking about last minute or so, thinking about aspirations. What makes you smile thinking about future? And that's for Judith as well, both of you, all three of you.
Nou ja, we hadden natuurlijk the fifth gen. Yeah, we'd love to have them inside the company. So we have to pop the question sooner or later. That's an aspiration. Another one is a little bit more on sustainability. We said that we want to be climate neutral in 2025, which is going to be a real challenge, but we're going to come as close as possible.
Yeah, wonderful. Judith?
Yeah, I think one of the aspirations in terms of our work, what we do here at Windesheim, is that we would really like to identify better the coming few years, the extent to which family firms engage in sustainability and all the different initiatives that they develop, and what the drivers and the motivations are within the family system that are really important for these kind of activities. So that's what we really want to learn more about in the next few years. Yeah.
Thank you so much. In our case, it's we've embarked a big time on sustainability, both in our MBA program, which is labeled as the best green MBA program in the country, and in our family business initiatives, this being one of the youngest and the newest initiative. And we hope to continue as we go into the future. So my personal aspiration, of course, is to continue working with the three of you and everyone in my room here. We have our lovely production staff. We have my colleagues from the Grossman School of Business. And best of all, I have two of my students. The grades are still not due for a few weeks, but we're hoping to continue on a positive trajectory. So thank you very much for joining.